The relationship between artists and VTubers is like an atom and a molecule. You can't be a VTuber without involving at least one artist in the creative process, and art on its own can't be a cute or cool content creator without at least having a personality behind it. In some ways, the artist and VTuber community tend to overlap a bit, as VTubers often commission artists for various projects that range from illustrations, overlays, logos, model art, emotes, and more. VTubers tend to be a great demographic audience for artists who do commissions whose skills can fulfill their needs. However, not all is peachy in this on-the-surface symbiotic relationship. In enters a VTuber named Nalithea. Not Nalithea? Nalitella?
I'm not Nutella. I'm a Nalithea, okay? Not Nutella, but Nalithea.
Everything started to go downhill for Nalithea's reputation in the VTuber community ever since she made this unfortunate comment about artists and their pricing back in December of 2023, where she says artists who want to normalize higher pricing for all the hours they put into their high-quality work is actually brainwashing and a toxic mindset, and therefore bad. So it is little surprise that come April of 2024, she had beef with her emote artist and tries to charge back hundreds of dollars and try to claim that she's the actual victim, not the artist whose hard work she used for years up until they had a fallout. Hi everyone, my name is Saphera de Noma, but you can call me Saf. Today, we're looking into this incident of a fellow independent VTuber named Nalithea, a quote, rose dragon princess who loves to do rhythmic gymnastics. Rhythmic gymnastics. Okay. Anyway, as usual, please do not harass anyone mentioned in this video. We are merely here to observe the tea, not spoil it. Let's get into it. Nalithea has been a VTuber since May of 2022 and seems to play a lot of shooters, including Fortnite, Overwatch, and Valorant. She's seen some success on Twitch with over 16,000 followers and hit partner status back in December of 2023. It is a little ironic that she made her initial bad take a few days before Twitch gave her partner status, but sometimes life be like that. She also used to be part of the Mythic Talent team on Twitch, as you can see with this screenshot that was taken on April 8th, 2024. Let's go over a bit more about what she said during that time. For a bit of context for those unfamiliar with VTuber terminology, riggers are people who work with VTuber art models, typically using a program like Live2D, and they basically make the layered art move and do expressions based on certain parameters. Basically, for a VTuber like myself, these are the next most important people to turn what looks to be a flat PNG into something that can be tracked and translated into real-time movement, making it look like this art is alive. It's a complex job that sometimes looks nightmarish, but the end result can be extraordinarily fascinating and rewarding. Back in December of 2023, and still continues to this day to some extent, there is discussion regarding the prices of rigging. Many artists tend to undercharge for what they put into their work, and riggers are no exception, especially since rigging complexity often increases over time due to new trends, new innovations, and also because model qualities tend to be higher and more complex too. Basically, making a VTuber model is a huge undertaking and stressful as hell, and everyone who works on this often puts dozens if not hundreds of hours into their craft to make something look stellar. But the discussion at the time was basically saying, hey y'all, if you're putting in a crap ton of hours into something, raise your prices to something equatable to a livable wage, and don't settle for less just because you'll get more clients for having lower prices. For example, back when I first started in early 2022, an average decent quality art and rigging combined for a full body model would be about 1 to 2K total. Let's estimate on the lower end of 1K for now. So in this case, art would be like $500 and rigging would be $500 as well. I know for some that's still a lot of money, but that was pretty standard and even considered relatively cheap for that time. In 2024, that same 1K total can still be seen at times, but quality may vary significantly depending on if the artist is new or inexperienced or doing a very simple style or rig. Artists who have built up the reputation and clientele by now know their worth and will tend to charge more, as they often have waitlists of clients who understand that their quality and professionalism is worth their higher pricing. Nalithea here, however, chooses to complain about this perceived inflation over time with the following. I am so tired of seeing posts on my For You page from new Live2D VTuber riggers ranting and being like, we have to normalize VTubing rigging prices that are between 2K to 9K US dollars. This shit makes me want to go back to 3D or quit being a VTuber. I feel like I'm in a cult where 2D riggers try to brainwash VTubers into thinking that it's totally normal that 2D rigging pricing of your VTuber model has to have the same price like a new car. This shit is getting so toxic and out of control. It makes me not wanting to be part of this community anymore. VTubing was supposed to be fun and for everyone. People that disagree in the comments of these posts are getting shamed for being either poor or very egoistic and get yelled at, calling them a terrible human being. That shit disgusts me so much. I know I am a VTuber myself, and I have a very beautiful and not cheap avatar too, but I really want to distance myself from this toxic VTuber environment on Twitter. I feel very uncomfortable with what's been going on. I want people to see me as the real person behind my avatar. I also want you guys to know that I don't judge people by their financial status, and that people from all financial classes are welcome to join my shitty streams. So first off, I just want to say, art is a luxury. You do not need art to survive, and you do not need a fancy model with all the bells and whistles to be a successful VTuber. Hell, VTubers are often stigmatized and tend to actually be a debuff for a lot of people outside of this sphere because we look like and sometimes act like cringe anime weeaboos. Which I mean, yeah, okay, I may be a little bit cringe and an anime weeb, but so what? Baka! Okay, cringe humor aside, art is a luxury. You see many people who are successful who aren't even VTubers with a live 2D model, or at best, a PNG. Hell, even popular YouTubers who don't show their face like Internet Historian is literally just a stock footage guy, and sure, he does animations and stuff, but the point of the matter is, you do not need to have the fanciest model to break into the content creator sphere, let alone as a VTuber. I personally know many who've been a PNG tuber for most or all of their content creation time, and they still see success. On the other hand, I've seen people with the fanciest model with the smoothest rigging and they see very, very little long-term success after they do a big debut because, let's face it, being fancy can't cover up for unfamiliarity with content creation, including the usual ups and downs, or maybe even a bland personality or weird vibes. Simply being a stick figure while being a little goofball can do wonders for capturing attention from people than simply looking pretty while silently playing Valorant. I do not think it is brainwashing for artists to charge a livable wage for the work they do. After all, for most of these artists, this is their full-time job, and how they support themselves and their loved ones. If the artists happen to price it at an affordable rate for both you and them, then perfect. But if the artist price is outside of your range, then perhaps you should consider looking for artists who do fit into your own budget. If the quality in your price range is not what you want, then saving up is viable to get that dream art that you want. Also, what country do you have to be where the price of a brand spanking new car in today's day and age is 2 to 9K? Bruh, at least here in my state in the USA, I'm lucky to get a brand new car for under $35,000. What the fuck? Continuing on, I have never seen anyone poor shame people in the way Nalithea is describing because that is very rude. But it's also equally rude to basically say artists should stay cheap because it's more convenient for your own pockets and not respecting the time and skill of an artist. Artists are not simply cheap labor. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. Nalithea also brings up wanting people to see me as the real person behind my avatar, which I don't really see how that relates to pricing. Personally, I view VTubing as a medium in which to express myself. Like instead of a webcam with my IRL face attached to it, instead I get to be a cute Nephilim appearance-wise. But my personality is still the same because I don't bother putting on a character and roleplaying up my lore because I would literally implode. So if you like how I talk, especially in my streams where I'm just vibing and never on script, well, congrats. That's basically me IRL. Anyway, Nalithea's thread got backlash as she got ratioed in the quote retweets and had many artists and fellow VTubers speak out and basically muted or blocked her for her unsympathetic view towards riggers and model artists. Of course, like every drama on Twitter, things would settle down after some time passes until Nalithea, once more, reared her head briefly in March of 2024, responding to a venting VTuber with the following. Model/rigging artists realized that nowadays they can get away with overcharged prices like that. Prices weren't always that high. In 2019 when I started, most high quality models were around $250, and even this was already very expensive in my opinion. But then as more and more VTubers became famous and successful, they knew they could also benefit from that by increasing their prices more and more. Big and famous VTubers were willing to pay huge amounts of money since they earn huge amount of money per month. That's basically it. And don't listen to people who are like, but they worked this avatar for 15 months. That's all BS. Another VTuber named Redclaw, a cool dinosaur VTuber, responds with this. In 2019, the majority of clients wanted a model that could just move. In 2024, clients want V-Bridger compatibility, 180-degree head turn, lean physics, 50 plus toggles, idle animations, multiple outfits. So yeah, we charge more now. I agree with Redclaw. The VTuber scene now is not the same as it was back in 2019. Hell, it's not even the same as it was in 2022 when I started. Back when VTubing was brand spanking new and relatively uncharted territory for the West, people who offered art and rigs back then were basically as simple as they could make it. With time, as the market flourished and began to establish itself, the quality for both art and rigs was expected to increase, especially with each subsequent debut. Hell, even now, we're still witnessing new metas that people are expecting to be the new norm. Everything I've said before still holds true, which is that art is a luxury. The artists often undercharged, especially back in the day, and when VTubers popped off during the pandemic and there was high demand, many things were churned out at an unreasonable, underpaid rates and led to a lot of burnout. Now that VTubers have mostly plateaued, many veteran artists now know the workflow and their worth and have charged accordingly, especially with the increasing complexities and quality being asked of them. It only makes sense that prices would rise accordingly. Anyway, Nalithea mostly went unscathed by her comment made at the end of March, but she once again fell into even hotter waters and received renewed scrutiny when an emote artist by the name of Laura, or Lorita RPG on Twitter, made this post on April 4th, 2024. To all my clients and fellow art friends, @/Nalithea VT filed a chargeback of $676 against me, claiming that the emotes she received were damaged and unusable. She belittled my art and work and refuses to acknowledge the work I did for her, saying I was lazy and that I didn't communicate properly and that it is my fault that she's not pleased with the final artwork. If you worked with me before, you know I always communicate multiple times and request feedback to ensure I deliver the best art possible. If you are an artist, you know you need to establish limits and that you can't keep consenting when clients start requesting endless revisions because they failed to explain themselves and what they wanted from the service provided. This client has been asking me for edits repeatedly and made me recolor and separate the layers of the emotes commissioned 3 times already, because every time I sent her the final update she had a new correction she forgot to mention. Now that I refuse to keep working on a commission delivered on January 13th, since I was not compensated for all these edits, I did them as a courtesy to her. I explained on my TOS you have a limited amount of corrections. She now claims that my work is lazy, that I didn't deliver the commission, and basically making me a criminal for not keeping up with the abuse and the unreasonable requests. I delivered the art commissioned, and what is criminal is to file a chargeback against me and completely erase all my hard work and the time I spent on it. But I guess that's to be expected from someone who attacked other artists in the past and complained about their prices. I don't like drama, but unfortunately things got out of hand and it is important for me to share my experience so other artists might take precautions if they consent to work with someone that might file a chargeback against you on a whim. It doesn't surprise me that Nalithea, a VTuber that complained about artist pricing in the past, would eventually stoop so low as to do a chargeback on her emote artist because of her own inability to be a good client. Since it's been asked before in my Umekaitu video, I'll clarify how Nalithea is being a real Karen here. When you commission an artist, you are often given a limit to how many times you can make corrections, though this is dependent on each artist and their terms of service. Some are more flexible and allow many revisions for free, while some are limited to a few times for free, typically 3, before charging extra for each one afterwards. Some stages in drawing are easier than others to do revisions. The sketch phase is often the area to do a majority of your major revisions there. For things like color and minor details, that can often be rectified after the line art and base color phase, but before the fully rendered stage. Sometimes things can be tweaked after final rendering, but this is very, very dependent on the artist, their patience, and how respectful and patient you were as a client to how large of a change you're requesting. Usually at the final stage, you cannot ask for something such as an entirely different pose or hairstyle or anything major, only minor things. And speaking of revisions, you want to send a list and identify each thing that needs improvement as a single batch, giving either a more detailed reference or highlighted regions as necessary. So that way the artist can go through and cross off each one to give you the updated version with the next update. If you do things this way, you should rarely, if ever, go past 3 batch revisions per commission. If you do not list things out in a single batch and instead only ask for one single thing at a time and wait, then things often become a constant back and forth and it'll be exhausting for both you and the artist. So just do everyone a favor and just list out everything at once as long as you are not asking for a whole redo and when it's beyond the sketch phase. Anyway, it sounds like Nalithea here didn't know what she wanted in her new emotes and did not do things in a single batch, but rather one by one, and after final rendering too, which led to frustrations on both ends and breaking Laura's TOS. However, since Nalithea was a returning customer, and I'm assuming their interactions in the past were favorable, Laura most likely wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and patience until that kindness was unfortunately stomped all over by a frustrated Nalithea. Also, to clarify, Laura's terms of service outlines that she only allows one change during the sketch phase, and only minor tweaks to colors and adjustments after the rendering is done. It sounds like Nalithea did not request these at the appropriate time, which means she broke Laura's terms of service right off the bat. When commissioning an artist, remember that when you are asking for a commission, you automatically have agreed that you have read and understood the artist's terms of service. So even if you see familiar terms in everyone's TOS, please do everybody a favor and just reread and understand that each artist is different. In a follow-up quote retweet, Laura elaborates that Nalithea charged back even more funds with the following. If you thought she was over with the first chargeback, wait till you read this. She has now decided to rob me from $284.59 because, again, she's unable to use the art, and the seller stated that they no longer wish to be in contact with me. And this is just ridiculous to do a chargeback, just because the artist decided to blacklist them for being a terrible client. Perhaps if things were settled or weren't escalated up to this point, then perhaps she would have still been able to use the emotes that she claimed she was so happy with in the past. Oh yeah, did I mention Nalithea boasted about loving Laura's emotes and still used Laura's emotes up until after Laura spoke out about the initial chargeback? And how Nalithea used these emotes for commercial use in TikToks and stuff? Whoa, let's get into that. You can see that it was paywalled behind Twitch subscriptions and used as Twitter promotion and even in shorts and clips. There are numerous examples where she said she loved them back in 2023, and there's evidence on Laura's media section of Twitter that she had made these emotes as far back as 2022 or possibly even earlier. So I'm assuming that they were used for almost 2 years as they have not changed in all that time. This sudden chargeback must have been a shock for this artist, and I'm assuming $900 is not cheap for either of these two parties. However, Nalithea is clearly in the wrong for how she went about things. While I can sympathize that receiving art you weren't 100% satisfied with is disappointing, it does not mean one can just be a Karen and go do a full chargeback for everything either, especially for goods that were used extensively up until the nuclear fallout. It is like the equivalent of throwing a tantrum at a customer service desk because they refuse to give you a refund despite your clearly opened with item. There isn't anything they can do with the used item because it is your design that they spent hours working on trying to follow up on terribly outlined revisions. Anyway, it all just reeks of disrespect towards the artist. Follow that up a few days later on April 11th of 2024 with Nalithea being petty on her Discord by saying she's gonna release her emotes for free and that Laura was scamming her, when Laura in fact is not scamming. When the fit hits the shan, expect me to release emote bases in the following days. As stated in my TOS, I retract all rights of my art to this person. Hope you never have to deal with someone as delusional and immature as Nalithea. I'm so disappointed. And in Nalithea's Discord post, she said, "At everyone, due to my emotes artist Laura RPG successfully scamming me with emotes in over $900, here are the files of all emotes she made for me for free for you guys. Please feel free to do whatever you want with the emotes. You have my full permission to use them for edits, to post them wherever you want, and you can also use them on your own Twitch and Discord channels, and if you want, you can also edit them or draw on top of them. You are allowed to post your artworks with it in the Nali Art channel. Have fun! Love ya!" And to top it all off, the very next day on April 12, 2024, Laura shows us some screenshots she received from Nalithea's Discord where she is doing nothing to stop violent threats being made towards Laura. In this screenshot, you can see this person saying that he wants to beat up the artist and teach her life, and Nalithea seemingly encouraging this behavior by saying and not wanting her to get away from it right after. Like, girl, what? This is hella messed up behavior. You should never wish violence upon someone, especially for something so petty as fucking emotes or even $900. That's messed up. Thankfully, someone tries to stop it by saying, "Bro, this is going too far." I understand that you're feeling upset, but to say you would beat the shit out of a woman is seriously pathetic. As a man, you don't want to beat the shit out of a woman. Have some self-respect. okay, chivalrous behavior aside, they got a spirit at least. I personally don't think anyone should be beating the stuffing out of anyone over drawn emotes regardless of gender, but hey, at least this guy has the reason and balls to speak up, so good on this guy. Nalithea then mentions gender doesn't matter, and then the person responds that it sounds like she's defending abuse, to which Nalithea replies with a self-deprecating, "Oh, there's nothing I can do, you do what you want." That's complete dog shit. These people are active enough in her community and parasocial enough to want to commit crimes in her name, even expressing it publicly in her own server in front of her. If she doesn't do anything to step in and shut that down, she's basically condoning it. As a content creator, she has a responsibility to shut down someone in her community saying, in her presence, that they want to commit a crime. If she were a good creator, she'd be able to manage unruly people like this and throw out these weirdos for being edgelords who want to commit crimes over petty shit. Speak up, or else you look equally as bad as the people around you. Thankfully, it seems like no harm will come to Laura, so may peace remain. On May 8th, she released a pay-to-use version of these emote bases on her Etsy and Ko-fi, so that means you can use these paid bases for your own emotes or even your own emote commissions. On May 10th, 2024, she also gave us an update on the situation. I can finally give this a closure and let you know that yesterday I received confirmation for the final chargeback. Nalithea filed a total of 4 cases, but after providing the evidence, PayPal confirmed that the product was delivered and that they did not consider the art was different to what was agreed upon. Thanks a lot to everyone for the overwhelming support I received from you. I managed to get a lot of additional evidence thanks to your help. This was horrible to deal with, but thanks to you, it wasn't as terrible as it could have been. With this being said, and as a final note, before commissioning, please make sure you have read the artist's TOS. Don't commission an artist if they don't have TOS readily available for you to read and agree upon if you find it reasonable. When providing refs, make sure to include clear and sufficient refs, not highly pixelated images that are difficult to read. Also, describe in detail what you'd like for the final artwork to be. On a different note, it's also valid if you don't like all art styles. I myself don't resonate with the same things I did in 2019. If you find that my current art style not worth it of your time and money, I respect that. But don't commission me and belittle me afterwards for not drawing like I did years ago, since I never forced anyone to work with me that considers my work not being good enough. I often showcase my work here on Twitter so any potential client can check what type of art I'm doing at the moment. Finally, I wish you'd never have to deal with a chargeback or a client like Nalithea. Nalithea, on the other hand, had been relatively quiet on her Twitter and Twitch after the initial callout. She hadn't streamed in a while, removed all her VOD archives, and only left clips up, removed her About section, and even has been silently removed from the Mythic Talent group and their website. Though, admittedly, I didn't look to see if she was on Mythic Talent's website when she was still part of the team on Twitch, so I don't know if she was on their website in the first place, but she was for sure there on Twitch. Nalithea seemed to be bitter about recent events and still seems to think she was not in the wrong. In response to another incident where an artist actually has bit off more than they can chew and scammed waiting clients who paid by ghosting them, Nalithea said this: "This is so sad and disappointing. Recently I see so many artists scamming VTubers, sad face. I also got scammed a while ago and I really feel like it's happening a lot recently, but most victims are afraid to speak up because the artist bubble can be very cruel. Thanks for the warning." And girl, to re-emphasize, she was not scammed. She was a shitty client and her immaturity led to the consequences that befell her reputation. Maybe if she respected artists more and understood their work process better, then she wouldn't have such a bad rep in this space where everyone talks. If she wanted to speak out publicly, she could have, but she chose to instead delete everything and talk and have violent threats behind the artist's back. She also said this in response to a big creator's tweet regarding canceling not working on them with, "Canceling is a concept that doesn't exist in reality. I wonder when people are gonna realize." And I don't really like cancel culture either, really. Just to clarify, none of the videos I make or will make is ever in the effort to cancel someone. I merely only look at people's publicized behavior, and if people be clowning, which there are tons of in the VTuber community, I'll most likely make a video about it sometime down the line, because I like looking and talking about clown behavior. But there is some point here where canceling, especially once someone gets big enough influence, often doesn't do anything in the long run, unless the person experienced so much shame that they actually wanted to take time to change or get off the internet and touch grass. But if you dig yourself a big enough grave, such as Illuminati, to the point where your reputation is so down in the gutter that not even scavengers want to fish you up, then sometimes canceling can work. It just depends how badly you fuck up, really. And for something as petty as this, it's definitely a huge fuck up in the VTuber and artist community, enough to probably be shunned from any self-respecting VTuber from wanting to collab and tarnish their own reputation via association, but not enough to entirely ruin your career so long as you move on. Ideally, Nalithea will improve and learn to respect artists and their pricing and how they handle things, but only time will tell if that will ever come to fruition. Though, just kidding. While I was procrastinating on recording this video, it turns out she actually had some stuff to say in her replies tab on her Twitter. Let's go through it because it's actually a little interesting. On May 9th, 2024, she posted some teasers about a studio that was working on her 3D model. People commented about whether she's gonna scam them too, which Twitter does what Twitter does. She responds to some ongoing criticism with defensive behavior. Someone says, "Want to prove your innocence and the fact that you were the victim? Show the proof. Anything that'll help your case. She is the only one that proved her side. The proof is against you. If you manage to prove that she's the one at fault, if you prove it, I'll apologize to you." That's a lot of proof. Okay, anyway. First of all, she lied about the final delivery. The final delivery was on the 1st of April 2024 and not the 13th of January 2024. After I opened the file she delivered, I noticed that many things were wrong and went with mistakes or missing, and asked her kindly if she can provide a fix. The screenshots of the email exchanges are the following. Laura delivers the emote. Nalithea, thank you. I noticed there are too many layers done in the layer separation. For example, outlines were done on separated layers, but they shouldn't be. Some layers are wrongly separated, like this here. The bangs part was included 2 times, once in the bangs layer and once in the back layer. This can lead to the animator later having problems because that part is there 2 times on 2 layers. It would be best to remove the bangs part from the back layer. The mentioned above issues are present on every emote, so they would all need a fix. Would it be possible to get a fix of this from you? I don't really have the time to deal with this myself, and also I respect you as an artist. I shouldn't make edits of your art. She then went to reply to my request by saying that she doesn't want to keep working on this anymore, which I respected. It was also previously communicated to her that I am okay if she charges me for revisions. Laura says, "Good morning. Right now I don't have time to keep working on this, and I think I'd be best if the animator organizes the layer according to their preferred workflow and needs." Nalithea says, "That's very unfortunate. I already paid you for this work. If I let the animator do this work, they will charge me additional fees. I also respect your wish that you want to close this commission and no longer work on it. Would you be okay if you would give me a partial refund of what you charged me for the layer separation? Maybe we can agree on something." Laura says, "I cannot offer a refund because I did the work on this commission and fulfilled all the tasks I was commissioned for. I did in fact separated the 7 chosen emotes 3 times already and was not even compensated for it. 1, the first time after getting first corrections. 2, then after your request of redoing them because they were not like the first emotes. 3, and a 3rd time when I requested the corrections detailed as a JPEG with the note. It is unfortunate and unfair that there is no acknowledgement of this, as I haven't put the time and effort to comply with your request and completely omitting the work I did. As described on my TOS, every person commissioning me must have read and agreed upon these terms before purchasing, and I mentioned that I won't be offering endless revisions, and that it is the commissioner's responsibility to give clear feedback on each stage of the process to deliver the best artwork possible." And then Nalithea basically says here that she does say that if you want to charge me more for the current revision / overwork, please let me know. And looking at the second paragraph in here, it kind of seems like that this was a response to after she criticized Laura for her changed style and also about potentially asking for updates, which may have seemed that she was rushing Laura. Even the emails she delivered to me looked very lazy compared to what she delivered to me in previous commissions. I appealed once again to her to please finish the work / provide a fix, or to please give me a partial refund. Nalithea says, "I am extremely disappointed. You delivered me multiple times lazy work with unfinished result. For the static emotes and now for the animated emotes that should have a proper and correct layer separation. It is very frustrating for me as a customer who tipped you more than generous and even paid out of my own pocket for a revision that only had to be done because you delivered unfinished work, flat color. Your organization and management of work should not create a problem for me, but it did. You didn't have to export everything before you made sure I was okay with the final result. Yes, you showed me the final result, but it was not communicated properly to me that this would be the final result before exporting. You created yourself a much bigger workload because you didn't properly communicate with me. You shouldn't blame me for that because that one is fully on you. I see that you feel as if I didn't appreciate all your work and effort. I really do. However, my issue with this commission is that I paid you for more than you did and more than was delivered at the end. You did not fully deliver what I paid for. You completed 75% of the work I paid you to do. I came back to you because your final delivery was incomplete and partially wrong. I asked for a fix and you refused. I am now left with an unusable product as a customer. I will need to find someone else to fix it, and they will also charge me money for this service. I hope that you can understand my side at least a little bit. It is really frustrating for me paying you around $1,500 that I am still left with a 15% incompleted commission. The way you delivered the layer separation is not done correctly and fully. I hope that we can find a solution that can work for both of us. Maybe you could refund me with 15% of the total commission, the 10 new emotes I ordered from you. I really think that is unfair of you to let me without an unusable end product and without any compensation. I do really not want to have to solve this through PayPal or in a legal way. Here, her replay, plus me begging her once again to either finish the work I paid her to do or to provide a solution or to provide a compensation. I also communicated her that I really do not want to have to resolve it through PayPal since it won't be nice for any of us. Laura responds, I did the work I was commissioned for, and as I mentioned the first time you write me back, I showed you images with the style you call flat and lazy is the type of artwork I'm currently making. And it's not my fault you didn't check this before commissioning me again and just assumed I would do similar work to the one I did for Fiverr emotes back in 2021. Again, you didn't seem to have a problem with the style back when you commissioned me once more for the wave, shrimp, and panic. I always communicate clearly with all my clients, and it's the first time someone is so disrespectful to me criticizing my work, my art, and the way I communicate just because you don't want you to own your own faults. Since 2020, I've always made sure to request feedback and ask for revisions and make sure to send updates so we're all on the same page. You yourself said you couldn't provide proper feedback multiple times and once because you're moving, but like you put it on the last email, that shouldn't create a problem for me. For this set of 11 emotes, I was paid not $1,500 but $675.49, taking away PayPal fees. You say you value artists when it's clear that you don't, since you're still erasing and ignoring all the work I did and the multiple revisions we've been through. Also, I never forced you to tip me. All the times I've been tipped by my clients, they have never used that as leverage to force me to work endless hours on their commission or to offer additional work in return. They also always paid me extra for major and minor revisions, and that's how commissions work. And to say that you think that after all this time the emotes I've done for you are an unusable product is pretty telling. I don't understand why. If you don't like the work I do, would you commission me again in 2024? I cannot give you a refund because I did the work when you commissioned me and you agreed upon my terms of service every time you placed a request, and now you write me as if I'm a criminal and thief, which I'm not, because I've been working hard to fulfill your request. But I can no longer keep putting up with the abuse and the disrespect of my work. Since it seems you haven't read them, here are my TOS, and link to her TOS. Nalithea says, you didn't deliver the work I paid for. The PSD file you delivered was unfinished and with mistakes. Please provide a fix/revision or compensate me by refunding for what you didn't deliver. You can refund me by giving me back 30% of the money you charged me for the layer separation of all the emotes I paid the layer separation for. This would be fair to both of us. This is my last appeal to you trying to resolve this issue peacefully. I hope we can find a solution together. Otherwise, I will be forced to solve this issue legally. Laura says, won't continue replying to this messages since you refuse to acknowledge the work has been done and delivered and that revisions for the so-called mistakes were not requested when asked for, when there was a window open to make them. And after reading these email exchanges, which I must add are definitely cherry-picking things that fit her narrative, all I gotta say is, girl, what the hell are you doing? First of all, if her issue is with the layers on the PSD file is that they're excessive and misnamed, okay. I understand being upset that if you paid someone to do the layer separation too and it didn't come out to what you wanted exactly perfectly. However, the math here isn't mathing. I don't know how much of this was just because Nalithea kept flip-flopping as to whether it was 25%, 15%, 20%, or fucking 30% that she wanted back. She also thought that the commission was $1,500 for a ton of emotes, but in reality it was $675. But even if we assumed it's the bare minimum of 15% that she wants back, that's still asking for a whopping $101.25 for something that is realistically like maybe $5 to maybe $10 max worth of effort if you really put into it. Here, I'll even help you figure out how to do it. First of all, Get GIMP, a free art program that can read PSD files. Or if you don't want to download things, totally understandable, then use Photopea, an entirely free browser version of Photoshop. Then upload your PSD there, then merge the layers as needed or rename as needed, then re-export. It's not hard. Holy shit. I can understand being frustrated when things aren't 100% perfect when you pay someone to do the work, but based on these screenshots, she 100% wore down on this artist's patience and demanded an obscene amount of money back for something that is easily fixable on the client's end as well. She is not so brain dead as to only rely on other people to do something that she could fix if she were that budget conscientious as well. This is absolutely buck wild Karen behavior. Maybe she should go check her ego at the door before demanding unreasonable things. Speaking of tipping, Nalithea likes to bring that up quite a bit during this whole tirade. She even posted about it twice in a row in her replies on May 9th. Tipping handsomely or tipping in advance does not equate to treating the artist like dog shit or like your dancing monkey. This is why, when tipping, you usually tip after receiving something to prevent feeling, quote, scammed. I understand Nalithea is a returning client, but this should be client behavior 101 for real because it's no one's fault but her own for basically giving the equivalent of a donation in advance. Going into May 10th, she's still responding to the criticism. One critiquer said the following: "I'm genuinely sorry to hear that, but that doesn't excuse how you handled it by degrading the work and telling your fans to deface it because you were upset with it. The proof you have provided doesn't counter what Laura said, and it looks like there was a communication problem." Nalithea says, "I said that they are allowed to use it or to make something cute of it. And since she received the money and I own it, there is no problem with me doing that. It's my full right as the owner who paid for it." And then another person responds, "Can you stop lying for 2 secs? Also, you were able to go on a whole rant with people providing zero evidences, but you're surprisingly silent with the one having said evidences. Respect every artist." And it clearly shows in the screenshot how vindictive she was, including, "You can use them on your own Twitch and Discord, and you can also edit or draw on top of them." First off, she lost all rights to anything she commissioned from the artist as soon as she charged back. Just because she paid for it initially does not mean she retains the right to the art itself when trying to get the full refund in the process. But since you're now blacklisted, well, you don't have rights to that art anymore. Encouraging other people to use this artist's art in their own Twitch is against the artist's terms of service, as she retains full rights to the artwork since she herself created it. Respect that. She also encouraged defacing it, which most artists do not want people editing over or using their art for malicious intent. She also said, "And they yell at me for not protecting the artists who scam me from receiving hate when I never even went public with this. It was them who decided to lie and be like she just did a chargeback out of nowhere for no reason. I didn't complain that she went public, but a lot of the things she said were simply not true or twisted to make her look good and me bad. Like, saying she delivered everything and I just did a chargeback out of nowhere is simply a lie. I even showed proofs." And man, just make it make sense. She's clearly bitter Laura went public and she bit her own tongue to be the quote-unquote better person, but like, if someone was outright spreading lies about me, for instance, I'd defend myself and let the evidence or my behavior speak for itself. The fact that she stayed quiet up until now, and the evidence that she did post didn't even seem to clear her name either, just seems to suggest that she knew that whatever she would post would make her look just as bad. So that's why she's just trying to play the victim card instead and say, "Oh, but I'm trying to be the better person and I'll start drama." Like, no, full stop. The evidence that she showed was helpful to give more context to the situation because it did just show that she's inconsistent, hypocritical, and unreasonable. If things don't go her way, she'll pull the Karen behavior card and be the victim. Speaking of May 10th, 2024 as well, she posted this and updated her bio, which was previously blank. And it seems she went back to a 3D model and wants to be lewd now. Whatever helps her get that bag, I guess, but I still think she should work on that icky attitude she has towards artists in general. I just hope that she paid the 3D modeler studio what they're worth and didn't have any insane demands of partial or full refunds that were unfairly priced for the work put into it. Overall, it seems that she hasn't learned and thinks that returning to a 3D model and being lewd will distance herself from the quote toxic VTubers. But the unfortunate truth is that she's still a VTuber, just one with a sordid and very public history. I can't judge her too much for wanting to make money off horny simps because, you know, sometimes a lad's gotta make their living. But I can still judge Nalithea for her disrespectful and Karen behavior, as well as just not addressing the literal threat allegation in her Discord. Instead, she constantly tries to victimize herself despite all the evidence saying otherwise. But anyway, that's all I've got for now. I'm still working on other videos behind the scene, but lately I've admittedly been feeling a bit of an imposter syndrome, I think. I won't dwell on it here, but I'm hoping that making this video will help motivate me to make more progress on the bigger one I'm working on, even though this one actually turned out to be a lot bigger than I wanted to because I had to add more evidence, but yeah, whatever. Anyway, I don't know when I'll feel ready to post that next one, but I'm not going anywhere, that's for sure. Thank you all for watching to the end. I really appreciate it. Remember to keep it vibin'. I'll see you next time. Bye!